Hi, my name is Dave, and I'm here to talk to you about gaming. I'm actually going to advocate for you to play games. So first off, let me talk about be specific about what I'm not advocating, and then we'll get into some of the benefits for it, for what's in it for you. And then I'll get into some actually specific games that I am personally recommending to you. So the first thing is I'm not talking about playing games in relationships. We're not going there. We're not doing that. I'm not talking about video gaming. I'm not talking about World of Warcraft or your Xbox or your PlayStation. My wife has told me I've spent way too many hours on it, on my Xbox, and I love it, and I understand, but that's not what we're advocating here right now. What I'm really talking about is sitting down at a table, playing with flesh and blood people, your family and your friends, and playing a game face-to-face like that. It is an experience that you can't copy online, and it has a lot of benefits. So what kind of benefits am I talking about? What I'm talking about is the fact that neuroscience and the modern field of positive psychology has proven and told us scientifically that people who build and participate in communities like gaming groups live happier and healthier lives. So unless you can sit there and say, I'd rather be miserable and unhealthy, this is something you should at least consider. Another thing is we're also living in a time period where people are always talking about neuroplasticity. People are worried about having Alzheimer's and losing their faculties. And playing games is going to exercise your mind constantly. You're going to work with math skills, you're going to work with communication skills, both verbally and written instructions. You're going to deal with abstract thought, tactics, and strategies, and what it actually means to play this game, and what timing issues there are, things like that. So there are a lot of benefits to it, besides the fact that it's amazingly fun. Most people can't sit down and say, oh yeah, every time I've sat down and have played a board game, I was miserable. You're just not going to say it. You had a good time. This is talking about doing it and doing it often, and that's what I'm really advocating here. So the kind of games I'm advocating are not regular Monopoly or chess or checkers or Risk or anything like that you probably have sitting in your closet already. There's nothing wrong with those games. But I'm talking about more like the games that have come out of Europe over the last couple decades. Games like Settlers of Catan, Puerto Rico, things like that. These are games that use different mechanics than we're used to. They're not difficult to learn. Doesn't mean they're easy to win, but they're not that difficult to learn. So you can start kids who are as early as 5th, 6th grade playing them, but they're still challenging to actually play and win. And they have different, like I said, they have different mechanics. They have different ways they work. Settlers of Catan, the board for Settlers of Catan is a set of components that you actually deal out every game. So every game is different. And that variety makes the replayability of that game pretty amazing. There are also games like The House on Haunted Hill and Pandemic and the Call of Cthulhu Arkham Horror board game that are actually not competitive board games, but cooperative board games. This is a totally different mechanic for a lot of people here in the States. This is where you and the other players are actually sitting down working together, not against each other, to win the game against the board. And so every turn, like the board is doing something that ticks down some kind of doomsday clock. And you and the other players have to work together to beat the clock, to beat the game. And you can set the difficulty of the game at the beginning of the game. So you can make it harder or less hard every time you sit down and you work out. How do you work together? How do you get that done? It's a lot of fun. But the games I'm really excited about are collectible card games. Now, you're probably familiar with these with games like Pokemon or Yu-Gi-Oh!, but these are cards that are really designed for starter players, really designed for kids, elementary and middle school kids to start playing collectible card games. I like the more mature, complex games, things like Magic the Gathering or Versus, which is my personal favorite. These games have a lot to offer, besides having the addictive collectible aspect of them. They're like playing chess games with like 1,000 different pieces available to you, but you're only choosing 60 to play with. Which 60 do you choose? How do they work together? Being creative and putting a deck together that way and playing against people, that's the real excitement about that. So I'm going to steal a line from Will Wheaton, tell people to play more games because it's fun, which is the most important thing. It's also good for you. It's good for your mental health. It's good for building relationships with people, even if you have to go out and find new people to play with. So that's it. Thank you very much.